And he left the next day, went to Colorado, and that was it.
Here you go, Ty. Good luck.
And teach this guy how to do that. And teach this guy how to do that.
One of the things is that the vision of the big organization has to include the visions of all the people within it.
So we go into the house, we show them, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, can you see your roof is too far gone? We can't do a repair. Or
you're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm excited today. I got a friend on, right? Like a friend in the roofing industry. We've known each other for years now. Had one of his partners on at one point in time on the show, but today we have Ty Meredith. How's it going today, man?
Good, dude. How you doing today?
I am awesome.
Yeah.
I know you are recording live from an event for Ugly Roof right now. Said the event's going awesome. Man, you guys do a lot of things, but I wanted to kind of start off with the conversation of how this all came to be, right? How, it started off as Meredith Home Improvements, your father's company, right? Tell the story. How did you get into roofing, Ty?
So Uncle Mikey is who I bought this company off of.
Okay.
So in 2011, I was working for my buddy, and I had a little franchise of his in Pittsburgh. We did basement waterproofing and finishing, and didn't have a passion for it. I was making a living, and it was a nice job and an opportunity. He moved me to Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I've moved around a little bit. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky. I lived in Cleveland for a long period of time and worked with my buddy Dan there. And then when I got back here, I moved to Pittsburgh. We had our first baby, a baby girl, 3 weeks later, and it just wasn't, I don't know, my heart wasn't in the rejuvenation space. And then my uncle said he was retiring and he was going to sell his company to a competitor. And I said, whoa, let's chat. So in 2011, I bought the company off of him. It cost me $150,000. And he just had a phenomenal name and a reputation for a long period of time, but he was very small. He did about $500,000 in revenue, did some roofing, did some windows, did some doors, did some siding, just a combination of things. And then he just started, knew nothing about roofing. He took me out one day and measured a roof from the ground. He pulled a tape from the ground, pulled a tape from the side, and was like, "That's how you do it." And I'm like, "Okay." And he left the next day, went to Colorado, and that was it. So
here you go, Ty. Good luck.
Threw me into the fire, but it worked out great. Obviously, as you're building your company, you have some ups and downs and learning experiences, and you do things wrong and you learn from it, you move on. But it's been a great experience. 12 years in now with M8.
Yeah.
It was originally called Meredith Home Improvements. And then about 4 years ago, we did a rebranding of just MHI Roofing to make it, make it better for everybody. Knew Meredith Home Improvements in Pittsburgh, but they didn't know us in our new markets that we were planning on moving into. So that's kind of
what were some of those early days, right? Like you took the company over. Was it, hey, we're gonna what was your vision at that time? Like I'm gonna make a living. I'm gonna what was it like? I'm gonna be able to feed my family. What was the where were you in that? And what was or was it, I'm going to take this thing to the moon and sell to private equity and do everything that's actually happened?
So I guess you go back and forth in your head with that. Originally, it was I can make a nice living with this. I knew he made a nice living at what he was doing, because he had no overhead and he was running the show. Our first year in business, we did 1.1 million, and I hired my first my cousin to answer phones. She was part-time answering phones because the calls were coming in. That's back when, I won't name names, but a particular marketing thing that I was doing was really good
Was
for me.
actually working. Yeah.
It was working.
When
And
one of
then
those big lead aggregators was actually
and then all of a
working.
sudden
Yeah.
it just fell off a cliff. But early on, I just wanted to steadily grow the business and have a nice business for my family. Had no
Yeah.
desire to grow, like really, really get after it. And then a few years into my career, I was like, made the decision that I do want to grow this thing, right? So we started growing. We became the largest GAF. I'm sorry, not GAF. The largest James Hardy installer in Pittsburgh
Okay.
for 3 years straight, and then that just became a nightmare for us. So at that point, we were doing about $5 million in revenue, and I was like, I'm making a nice money here. I have no overhead, and I'm just going to switch to roofing only. And I'm comfortable here. I'm making a good living. And then I met John Bros, and everything changed. So yeah,
Everything changes when you meet John Bros.
yeah, he talked me into taking it further, and and here we are. We have a nice
Yeah.
nice little.
Yeah. So, what were you like? I think there's times in an entrepreneurial journey, right? Like, there's always times where you're like, man, I could really make it, and there's other times where you're like, I don't know if I can do this another day. How did you make that? Was it that you started to see the success that that opened up your vision? What was it that opened up your mind to taking it from that I'm going to make a good living to I think we can actually do something really big here?
I think my best quality became hiring people that are more qualified than me in certain areas.
Mm.
Finding sales guys that were really good. I was decent. I was good at sales, but finding guys that I could rely on to sell for me, so I could take a step back, and then finding production managers that allowed me to breathe. Because they were up at 6 a.m. to doing that, and I could focus on growing the business. And then ultimately finding John, who changed everything from a systems and processes standpoint.
Yep.
Finding people that were better than me in areas and being able to let go of the reins and then let them do their thing and be good at what they do, I think is what made us successful. Because you have to get out of your own way.
You do have to get out of your own way, right? I was at a conference in like 2004. It was a real estate conference, and Russell Simmons from Def Jam was one of the speakers. And I still remember this to this day. And he said, someone asked him, like, because it was like, someone asked him, like, how'd you make it or what? And he's like, I hired people smarter than me in everything that, like, in every role. Like, how did sometimes it's on accident, right? Like, you just go, man, well, but what do you think led to you finding those people, finding the right people for production, for sales? Like, what, if you could look back and connect the dots now, what were some of those things like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing this, or I'm naturally good at this?
So we hire people with the qualities we're looking for. Maybe they're not a rock star in sales, or they're not a rock star in this, but they have the desire and they have the correct personality. Like, we're sitting in this conference here for the last 2 days for our Ugly Roof company, and we have about 85 people in there coming in to do our MHI sales training and Ugly Roof sales training. And to a person, they're like, I don't know how you've created such a phenomenal culture. All of your employees are bought in. They have an ownership mentality. And I think it's just, John and I talk about it all the time. We've set the tone for how we're supposed to, I hate to say it, like, act as humans, and how you're supposed to act with the homeowner and be kind. And, we just had our huge company party, and we had a big blowout party on Friday this week. And the staff at the place said, we've never had anybody in here that everybody acted in a dignified way. They were having fun, but there wasn't foul language. So I guess when I back that up, you set the tone, you set the precedent for being professional and kind and generous to your people, and they want to work for you, and they want to they want to do better.
Yeah,
You know?
that's a big thing. And you guys do have an amazing culture. It's crazy. Like, I want to go back to what you said, qualities and personality. So you're looking for, what are there have you kind of developed different qualities and personality traits for different roles now as this thing has progressed? What are the qualities you look for and maybe personality traits in that production manager,
So
salesman,
So, like, let me give you an example for sales. Like sales, you don't always get humble people. There's a lot of arrogance in sales, uh, but we have hired humble guys that are
Yeah.
competitive, that
Yep.
love to play sports, that have that competitive edge, but they're humble, and then you can teach everything else. If you have the desire to win, and you can be humble and get along. Like we have 13 sales reps now. They all get along. We use Slack, and they're joking with each other. They're ripping on each other, but all in a kind way. And then they're also building each other up. Like, oh, that's a phenomenal sale. Like they're all
Yeah.
on the same page. We have had over the years, there's been guys that didn't fit. I mean, we knew
Yeah.
real quick that they didn't fit the culture, and they just worked themselves right out because they weren't part of the team atmosphere that we were trying to create. And then John does a nice job at hiring those tech savvy people that he knows he can work with
Yeah.
and develop and use some of the systems and processes that we have. And then we just landed. I mean, obviously landing John for me was huge. And then since then, landing a production manager that's just absolutely, we call him a savage. He's just a savage at getting things
Yeah.
accomplished. And then we stole a sales manager that is just a trainer and a teacher and a leader. So having the right guys and the right girls in the right positions has really helped us to have a successful, fun company to work for.
Let's talk about those positions, like taking over Uncle Mikey's business, small, low overhead, type of business. If you like, again, connecting those dots, right? Like, who, if you were to do it over again, what are the first roles you hire? What are those like key roles, and why for you versus, because some people might not need to hire the same roles as you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
So, I mean, the key roles, I mean, if you're just starting off from scratch and it's you, obviously
Yeah.
you need somebody in-house to help you keep organized. You need that person helping to answer the phones, helping to keep jobs organized. I mean, like when you first start, I was doing sales, I was doing production, I was answering the phone, like you're doing it all. So that first key person was crucial. And then finding once you get to a certain point, that production manager really takes, well, unless, I guess it just depends on who you are. If you're production focused and that's what you're running the business from, then you can take on production. If you're sales focused, then you do sales, and then you need to find a sales leader. I was more on the
Okay.
sales side, so I found it production managers first that really took a lot of weight off of your back as you're growing.
In your experience, it just comes to my mind, especially because you guys, with all the ugly roof dealers, you guys are working with a lot of roofing contractors across the country. Mm-hmm. Who do you think, and this could be our controversial question, right? Who do you think makes makes the better roofing business owner, the sales oriented person or the production oriented person?
Oh, that's a good question, because I've seen both. I have a buddy that has an unbelievable business doing $30 million in revenue, and he's production focused, and he's doing phenomenal, obviously. And then I have buddies that are sales focused. I have buddies that are marketing focused. Benny Fisher,
Yeah.
he's marketing. So
right.
You can be successful in all as long as you find the right person in the areas that, like I said, that you're not good at. And I wasn't as good at production. I was decent, but finding that guy that can take that load off you. And then, my real Achilles heel was the systems and processes, the techie side that you're good at. And John just thrives in that tech world and bringing in the correct CRM. I was struggling with the CRMs that I had, getting them set up properly. And he really took the bull by the horns on that. And that changed a whole section of our business.
So what I hear, this is what I think too.
Yeah.
Finding it's a little bit of self-awareness, right? Is
Yes.
what I heard in that. Like it's self-aware, know yourself, right? Know thyself, right? And then fill the gaps of your where your weaknesses are with other people's strengths.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, it's tougher for the guy that what is a roofer, an actual putting the nails on the roof, putting shingles down roofer, for that guy to start a business. If he doesn't
Mm,
have any kind of business acumen, because you're running a
yep.
business and there's lots of numbers and spreadsheets and things that you have to keep it, keep in line. And as you add those pieces, it might be tougher for that person as
Yeah.
opposed to a sales guy or uh, that's
Yeah.
just my opinion.
So I mean, you need to know your numbers, and in that's a big part of it. You got to about 5 million, and then you shed some services. Is that where you're about the 5 million mark?
Yep.
What was so you said, you know what? We're really good at roofing.
Mhm.
We're going to just focus on roofing. Man, how was that decision? Like
Yeah.
I know John, in my conversations with John, he probably put a little pressure on you in that regard. But that's man, we're doing 5 million. You were the biggest James Hardy installer for a couple of years. Like you're doing a lot of siding. To take that service offering and say no, we're not to take that source of revenue
Hmm.
off the table. Like
So we took that source of revenue
talk me
off the
through that
table.
one.
I hired a high dollar employee in John, and then took
Yeah,
that revenue off the table, and we started
yeah,
just just roofing. So it was an interesting year. It was a very interesting year, but we were successful. So we did 5 million. I don't know what that was, 6 or so years ago. We
yeah.
removed about $2 million in James Hardy, and then the next year we did the same amount. We were even at 5 million. So we added
Got it.
2 million in roofing back to the business, and then we grew from there. So I had a sales training. I hired a big sales guru, came in one year,
Yep.
and we had a process. But then we tweaked that process. Then John came along, and we tweaked it a little bit more. And then Kevin came along, and now we feel like it is an elite sales process, and that's what we're training our guys in there today. Um,
Yeah.
you know, through that series,
And that's
through
one of the
years.
things that I see in your guys' team, man, is that my goodness, the detail, and I'm going to call it in the customer journey, right? The detail that has been implemented in the customer journey from the time they become aware of you to the time they make that phone call to the handout, the appointment, the inspection from the salesperson to the length of time that salesperson has with that customer before it goes to another person. Like you guys have this, like just you guys have the systems in place. One thing that has always been a challenge, because I see it from the marketing side of things, right? One thing that I always see a challenge in, I see companies that they're like, we need leads, right? So we go in, they go and invest in their marketing, but they don't get the results that they expect. And they don't get the results that they expect because the phone isn't answered properly, because the sales scripting isn't done well. Like their sales reps are not trained well. I don't know if you want to share where your closing rates got to, but like
Yeah.
you guys are one of the have probably the highest closing rate of any company that we work with. Like it's crazy.
With the implement of roof rejuvenation into our process too. So that's part of
Yes.
our process. So we don't
Yep.
we don't go out and advertise for roof rejuvenation. It's just part of our sales process. When we're in the home and we do the proper inspection for the homeowner, we show the homeowner their photos of their roof, and then we let them make the decision. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, can you see that your roof is too far gone? We really need to replace this. Because we market, as you know, we go after repair leads, and we run those
That's right.
repair. So they're expecting us to sell them a repair a lot of times. So we go into the house, we show them, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, can you see your roof is too far gone? We can't do a repair. Or, hey, you have some life here. We can do a small repair. We can rejuvenate your roof and add 5 years of life to it. So what that's done for our company, we were at about in the mid 30s closing percentage across the board with our 12 guys. The last 2 years in a row, last year, we in 2022, all 12 guys, we closed at 52%. And then this year, just to close at 23, we closed at 49%. So we got on our sales manager for losing 3%.
That's
But no,
right.
still had but we grew 25% in revenue that year, and that includes all of our brand new salespeople. We had some new
I think
guys.
that's a good lead into the conversation. When were you introduced to the idea of rejuvenation, and how did Ugly Roof come to be and be a part of MHI, or not a part of, but a division
Yes.
of, or a component, a complementary service offering to MHI?
Yeah. So it was about 5 years ago, and we're just in the roofing space now, and we thinking to ourselves, all right, what can we add? What other things can we do on the roof? Like, how can we make more money and grow our business with roofing, just roofing services? And John said, hey, I had a cleaning business years ago. So we thought about a cleaning business, and it wasn't right for our market. And then we started doing research, and we did find a rejuvenation company out there that a lot of people know. It's more of a franchise model. And we looked into them. Wasn't right for us because we're a roofer. I didn't want to start a new company and have a new franchise separate from the roofing company. So it wasn't right for us. And then we just started digging in to find products, to see what was out there. And we met and partnered with a company literally 2 hours from us that has, without a doubt, the best product in the industry. And we know that, like, I can say that confidently because we've had all the products have been tested through, your big companies like PRI Labs and Intertech Labs. We've had shingle manufacturers test our product and other products. How our product Rejuvenate really changes the game. But anyways, so we added that in, and originally we were going to start our own satellite offices of Ugly Roof, like just start our own company. So we started one in Florida, and just wasn't right. Like, it just nobody knew rejuvenation, nobody understood rejuvenation, and then we decided it's doing so well in our roofing business that now we only go after roofing contractors because it's an added service. It's a product offering within their roofing business, and that is what makes it so unique. Like I said, I don't go on TV or go online advertising rejuvenation. It's just when we're in the house now, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we have another option for you. Your roof replacement's $25,000, but I can rejuvenate your roof and repair it, give you a 5-year warranty for $5,000. So now, and that changed the game for us.
That changes it, right? Because it's, there's a lot of the, selling in good, better, best, right? Like, it's that other option. And I like every presentation I do, it's like, I have this conversation all the time. No one wants to buy a roof.
Nobody.
I don't like, they're like the amount of people that want to buy a roof is like, it is a necessary purchase that you have to make, but it's not something that you're excited about. Right.
Not at all.
So, and then on the other side of it, it's not something that people are saving up for. And let's speak frankly, people in the United States don't save money anyway. So so the $25,000 roof compared to the $5,000 rejuvenation and repair, man, I like now the dots start to connect on why you go from a 30% close rate to a 50% close rate, right?
Like, when you're in the house, now you become the authority. You become more ethical, as opposed to before. Your sales rep only has one option. He has to sell a roof to make to make a living. He's got to sell a roof. So sometimes you're pushing for a roof, even though that homeowner might not need a roof. So now when we go in, Mr. Jones, you don't need a new roof replacement. We need to do a repair here. Your roof is on the edge, but I can extend this for 5 years. So I have a low price, high value option and a high price, high value option for you. And you pick whatever. And then to me, as the roofing contractor, I don't care which one he sells because the profit margins on the rejuvenation are so high that you're making money. So, that's your customer for life. I take care of that customer now. He remembers MHI roofing. And then in 3, 4, 5 years, when he actually needs a roof,
Mm-hmm.
we're there to help solve that problem
And that's
for them
the
at that time.
long-term vision, right? Like I think in business, we get so short-sighted on cash flow today that we miss out on that long-term vision a lot of times, right? But if you do say, look, I'll take this repair, add rejuvenation, and now this is my customer. Now I get to nurture them. They're in my database. They know who we are. They're part of our, part of our ecosystem now. They're gonna continue to know about who we are. We're gonna have touch points. And then, when we're pushing up on that 5 years, boy, we just, with the technology, it's like, oh, phone call triggered, like now
Yeah.
we're doing that, right? Like it's yeah, that's awesome. So you bought Meredith Home Improvements, doing all kinds of contracting work, thinking about just, man, I'm going to make a living. A point in time, it was like, all right, well, maybe this could be something. Brought on John. You guys, said, okay, how do we make this into something big? Okay, we have to shed this. We have to think about other sources of revenue that we can get from being up in this, just on the roof, right? We're not looking at siding anymore for an additional source of revenue. How can we increase our revenue just on the roof? Ugly Roof was formed.
Yep.
You realize that is better suited in your roofing business as an add-on service to your roofing business than as an individual service offering, which I agree. When you're a roofing sales rep trained well, knows how to identify issues, not just spray goo, right? Like it. So, and if
That's key there.
right, like, and then you said something interesting also, is that when you're only selling roof replacements, you only have a roof replacement to generate revenue for yourself as a sales rep. I think that's true on the other end. If you're only selling rejuvenation, you only have that as your, right. Like you don't have the option. So you're not giving the homeowner all of their options. You're giving
You
them the
can't
option that you have,
Yeah,
right?
because you
I
don't want
love
to just
that.
spray a roof. You want to do the
Yep.
necessary repairs and make sure that roof is whole, and then do your rejuvenation for it.
That's right.
So that's most of the competition. They just go up and spray what? They don't even know what they're spraying because they're not roofers. Now we have a roofer that's on your roof that can really take care of you, and you have all the options available. It's
Yeah,
nice and good for our guys.
that's awesome. Now that now this thing, it's not 5 million anymore, right? Like the systems, processes, the marketing, the sales strategies, the additional service offerings, all of this thing is, I would assume, did you ever imagine, Ty? Like, is this like, were you back in 2011 when you bought the business, could you even envision what this has become?
No, I thought just like anybody, I'm gonna have a nice business till I'm 60, whatever. And
Yeah.
my goal was to retire younger than that. Was to
Yeah.
retire in my early 50s and really get after it after some things took place. But never did I think that we would be where we're at today with the
Yeah.
way that the entire roofing industry is changing.
Yeah.
And now growing the ugly roof side of the business has been fun. We're in 22 states. We have over 45 dealers, and they come to these trainings and they're just so pumped up when they leave. It's exciting to build that side of it. And then the roofing side has gotten, the regular business side has been so fun and successful that because of the way the industry is changing, we have recently taken advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So so from 5 million now, where are you guys at, or where'd you end 2023 around?
Just 16 million.
16. Okay. And
Yeah.
then from there, like this, now you have in that process, in that growth process, you started to attract what a lot of companies are attracting, and that's outreach from private equity, right? Like
Yeah.
people started saying, hey, wow, you guys are doing good over there. You guys are, starting to hit that 8-figure mark, and you're, top line, and you get, so when did you guys start? When did you start having those conversations from with entertaining or getting outreach from private equity? And then when did you start? What was the thought process when you guys first started getting that outreach?
So outreach started probably 2 years ago. Everybody started, messages in their
Mhm.
inbox and getting phone
Yep.
calls. We started looking at it about a year ago. Um, and there's different options in the private equity world. There's new platforms, there's new opportunities that come to the table, and they're looking for a platform company to really take that company and expand and grow throughout the country and do bolt-ons. We did look at that at first, but from where I was at in life, the uplift of that, that's not what I was interested in. Um,
Yep.
John wasn't either. We actually signed an LOI about a year ago, and then literally within 30 days decided no, this isn't right for us, and we backed out of that and retooled and refigured it out. And then about 4 months ago, we talked to a gentleman, and it was just right. We had
Mm.
talked to probably 10 different options, and the options weren't right for us. We have built such a fun culture, and your friends and your family work for you. And I didn't want to be selling my business and then them selling it again in 24 months, 36 months, and then selling it again. Like, I didn't want my family and friends and the culture that we built to be just constantly flipped. So it wasn't
Mm.
right for us. We backed off of those opportunities. We probably talked to 10 different companies looking for the right opportunity, and then the right opportunity just hit us. Just came to us about 4 months ago, and just made perfect sense for what we were looking for our company, and we took advantage of it. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
So let's, I want to have this conversation for people, for contractors, because first of all, like this wasn't on the table for me. This hasn't been on an option for a
Right.
lot, right? For a
Yep.
business owner, right? Especially again, like you bought Uncle Mikey's business, right? You're like, you're going to make a living. And then all of a sudden you start hearing all this stuff about this private equity and all these different things that are going on. Let's talk about the different options that are out there, because you guys went through a lot of them.
Sure.
So, and then, so the first thing was, I guess the first thought, I guess, I want to start with is, what made you go, yeah, we got to explore this?
Yeah. Just because we see the way that the industry's changing.
Mm.
Uh, it's going that way. These large companies now have better rebates, better buying power, better everything, shared
Yeah.
services. So if you're I hate to say if you don't get on board, but it's going to be much more difficult for you if you don't get on board at some point. I was we had an interview yesterday with Dimitri, and that middle of the road guy, that guy that's doing 5 to 8 million, it's going to be, in my opinion, this is my opinion, tougher for
Yeah.
that person, that company, than it is even for three guys in a truck that can keep their prices
Mm.
real low and real tight. That guy's going to still get his business and do a nice, 40, 50, 60 roofs a year. The guy in the middle, it's going to be difficult for, because you have overhead, you have expenses, your price needs to be here. Well, all of a sudden you got a monster that's at the same price as you or pretty close. It's going to be hard to sell against a sales organization and that
Mm.
has better buying power and better advertising and better. So we thought to ourselves, now's the time to do it. I am now focused on two things. I'm focused on Ugly Roof now, and I'm working for the company that bought me doing acquisitions. And now John is really taking over the COO role for MHI,
Yeah.
and he's the COO for the entire state of Florida for Vertex.
Yeah. That's awesome. So now you had a couple of options on the table. There was the platform company. Let's speak to that option a little bit, and like
Basically,
what, yeah.
it's a new fund that's looking to get into the space, and they're looking for their first roofing company to really build around. And when you're doing that, you're basically teaching that fund everything that there is about roofing. Like, you have to help
Yeah.
them take that from ground zero to whatever they want to be, 300-400 million. So you have to help them do that. So that's a lot of work. It might be fun. It might be fun
Yeah.
for somebody. It might be a great opportunity for for a younger guy that really, or a girl that wants to just get after it and grow. So it is a bit of a fun opportunity if you're that first person to
Yeah.
grow that, but it's a big uplift. Big
So that
uplift.
to me sounds like the most enticing one, because it's, let's just know that there's a little bit of ego in roofing, in the
There's
roofing
ego.
business, right? Like,
Yeah.
and being that platform company may feed to the ego a little bit of like, wow, we're going to be the first, like we've built this. And that may be right for someone. Who would that be right for? They have to, so what a couple of things I heard is they have to be hungry. You have to be that being the platform company. Maybe would you say that requires the most work from the owner?
100%.
Okay.
100% the most work, but you have to be in a position where you're already a very strong, very solid company. You have to have
Yep.
systems and processes and call centers and everything like really dialed in. Like obviously you can make it better, but really dialed in to then take that platform and grow it and teach this guy how to do that and teach this guy how to do that.
Got it.
So you need to
See.
be. So it's not your $5 to $8 million company, obviously.
Yeah.
They're looking for a sizable company that they can take what they have and really grow it.
So you have to be the platform company. If you want to end up there, if that's your path, you have to build the machine,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Then you're going to get the investment from private equity to fuel the machine, but you're still running and owning and like managing the machine, right? Like it's still your machine,
And now you're managing
within,
everybody else.
right?
Yeah.
And then now kind of another option would be to just be your standard roll up
Mm-hmm.
and then so you're not the platform, you're rolling up into a portfolio of companies.
Yep.
What would be some of the advantages there? And you had mentioned there you didn't want the turnover of the cut, because the in that strategy, they're rolling up companies to combine the EBITDA, create efficiencies, grow EBITDA, and then get a higher multiple as this thing turns over every X amount of time, right? So, what would be advantages in that one and disadvantages of that one?
To me, it was just a disadvantage across the board. To because they're consumed with EBITDA and bottom line because they're
Mm,
looking to sell as quickly as possible. So for me, how do you continue to build your company, get your team
mm,
to buy in to building the company when there's a future exit right around the corner? And how do you tell your team, hey, I'm selling today, and guess what? They're probably going to be selling in 2 to 3 years too. Like keeping employee retention. Uh,
yep.
it just for us, it might be great for others. For us, it just was not appealing at all. I wanted to leave. If I was leaving, I wanted to make sure that my people were taken care of and they had a
Yeah.
path ahead of them. So for the guy that's that's 60 years old and he's like, I'm done. I got a nice little company. I'm making money, but I want out. That would be a good opportunity.
Yep. And
Uh,
because they may be able to have a in the additional roll ups, they can get additional,
yes.
um, you know, money from that.
Yeah.
So it's like your retirement account kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And those
I would
types of
say that another advantage there may be de-risking, right? So if you're someone that the risk is moving to the big company versus you. I've heard that from some people that have gone in that direction.
Yeah. So I guess the pro to both of those would be that, you get paid for your business
Yep.
and then you can roll up, a percentage of that number into the company. And then you're going to be selling within that 24 to 36 months. So you're going to get another piece of the pie. But generally that piece, is anywhere from 2 to 5 times whatever you
Yeah.
roll back. So that's a nice option for people that are kind of at the end of it all and just want a couple bites real quick. But I can explain ours too, and what
Yeah,
options.
and then that's what I wanted to that's where I wanted to go with it. Okay, now Vertex is doing something different.
Yeah.
So it or slightly different. Explain the structure and what attracted you to the structure of that you got with Vertex.
So it's kind of the best of all the worlds. Um, since I didn't want to be a platform, that was off the table. It was already set
Yep.
and ready to go. Um, the They never ever plan on selling. They want to be the biggest, baddest roofing company that there ever was. We have goals to be at 5 billion by 2030, and we want to grow and just create the biggest roofing company. So the difference is, as opposed to being consumed with EBITDA and bottom line for the first couple of years, they basically back up the truck. They're going to come into town and take MHI from 16 million to 50 million. And then our location in Florida, they're going to take that from the 7 million to 50 million. They're going to grow it to the biggest, baddest company in the area. So what that meant right out of the gate for my people is the opportunities that they would have had maybe 5 to 7 years from now if we built to that point. Now they're going to have that in 2 to 3 years. There's going to be opportunities instantly for growth and sales management and all different management positions. So they have opportunities where with the other one, you're kind of in limbo because you're going to be selling in 36 months. So
Yeah.
how do you build properly? So
Yeah.
that was exciting for us. That the fact that we're going to grow this thing to exponential growth in each of our markets, and they have opportunities now for management. There's going to be, but before we even closed the deal, we hired a new sales manager and a new general manager for the company because they're just looking to grow. So that was
Yeah.
real exciting for us, the long-term path. But what's nice is within that, hey, we're never going to sell. You have opportunities if you roll back money in. You have opportunities to pull that money and get your wherever the multiplier is at the time. If it's at a 3x and you're like, hey, I went out, I want to take my money, you pull your money, you're gone. If you want to wait till 5x, if you want to wait till 10x, whatever the number is, you can keep that money vested or pull it whenever you want, basically.
Yeah. So you do get a lot of advantages there. I
Yeah.
like the advantage of of you're going to grow. It's not EBITDA focused, which becomes a challenge to run a business if you're really getting challenged from an EBITDA standpoint, especially in growth mode. Not that you can't do it, but so I guess it's finding the right thing for you, right? Like you just got to find what fits your right, what fits your culture, what fits your goals. Um, you have to be okay with whatever happens up front, and the future is always at risk in anything that you do, right? Like there's from that I was having actually a conversation with a gentleman right before this about selling his digital marketing agency, and we were just talking about that. Like I think a good thing, and I heard this from another digital marketing agency owner out there. We were talking one time, and when you're doing these things, it seems like one of the things is that the vision of the big organization has to include the visions of all the people within it, right? So it has to be big enough for the visions within it, and so what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing with Vertex is that the vision of Vertex is so big that your vision of it fit, like you see, like you guys fit in there well, and then you see the vision for your team and the advancement opportunities there. So there's not just vision for Ty's bank account. There's vision for the team, for the brand to continue. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. That's awesome.
Yeah, so a lot of companies, they have a lot of pride in their brand, and they don't want
Yep.
that to change. So it's your brand. We build
Yeah.
out your company in the areas. We might take MHI and have some green fields in different areas and expand its footprint.
Yep.
Obviously that's the best way to keep things profitable. Obviously, too, we have more buying power. We have
Yes.
more rebates because we're now a large, 300 and I think we're at 340 million or something like that right now.
Yeah.
We'd like to be at 750 by the end of the year. So we're growing rapidly, and we're finding the right key players. Like you said, unfortunately, I'm in the acquisitions side of this now,
Yep.
so I'm helping to find companies, and we've told some companies no because they're just not the right fit. We're looking for the right fit.
Yeah.
I know that there's private equity out there that are buying storm companies, but we're not one of them. We're
Yep.
retail focused. We do buy companies that are in storm areas that are basically storm catchers. Obviously, there's companies on the coast or in Texas
Yep.
that they stay home and they just capture the storms that happen repeatedly. That's different than a storm chaser. But we're a retail focused company, and we've had to tell some companies no, unfortunately.
So the perfect company that you're looking for, I mean, describe that, and then I want to talk about that $5 to $8 million contractor a little bit,
Yeah.
and a little bit more on where they're at and what what someone might be able to do, right,
Yeah.
to get to hit the radar, to get the right offer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, typically speaking, we're looking for a company that's been in business, that has a good reputation, that has good reviews, that has a good culture, that we can take that. Let's say that, our entry levels in that 10 million range as far as revenue, but we can take that $10 million company and just explode them. And next year
yeah,
make them 20, and next year make them 40, and just grow the brand that they've built in their community and just make it bigger
yeah.
and better with
So
shared
when
service.
that happens, this kind of circles back to what, where you feel like, where you see the risk in the market, in that middle of the road, right? Between that, you're big enough where you have overhead, you're not big enough to take advantage of the economies of scale, of the rebates, of the of those types of things, where you can offset some of that overhead. Man, if you're sitting in that area, what things helped you go from that $1 million marks, that mid-million area of, let's say, the 5 to 8, mid to high millions, into that 8-figure company. Like, what were the things, like, man, this is what we did, X, Y, and Z, and that led us to this.
Sure. I actually have a friend in the industry, and that's working with these middle of the road companies to help get all their finances in order, to get their books the way a private equity company wants to see them, to help them grow with the proper CRMs, having systems in place, having a sales process that makes you more appealing. I hired, in that, a lot of guys in that 5 to 8 million are on a cash basis. A lot of these private equities like to see accrual. So
Yep.
kind of converting and getting your business into that side of things, so it's crystal clear
Getting
for the
your
private
books.
equities to look at it.
So for everyone, that's your books, right? Your accounting. There's cash accounting and accrual accounting. So one of the things that I like to talk about, or like that I like, is you have to speak the language, right? So if you're speaking one language and they're speaking another language, it's gonna be hard to communicate.
Yeah.
So I think what you're talking about is getting your business put together in a way that, if you are choosing to go this route, that is understandable from the high finance guys,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so you're speaking the right language. That accrual accounting is the language of finance. So
Yeah.
having that in place on your books. So processes,
That's an
right?
up. It's a change. We hired an
Yeah.
outside CFO, a fractional CFO, that changed the game for us. It took him 6 months to get things
Mm-hmm.
converted and switched over properly. And I use him now to help other companies do that.
Yeah.
But you have to have your books in order, because if you come in unorganized and not ready to come to the table, it's not going to the process is not going to go smoothly, and it's probably not going to go well for you, because you might think your EBITDA is here, but the reality is it's here. So you need to
Yeah.
make sure that you're in line.
Yeah, you have to know. You have to know what it, like I said, the language. So if you know what they see, if you show them what the same thing, if you go, hey, on a cash basis we're here, but on an accrual basis we're here, you better know that they're not going to make an offer on a cash basis.
Right.
That's just not where,
I mean,
you know.
they may, but it's just a
They
lot
may,
harder.
yeah, they may, I guess. Yep.
Yeah.
But they may, but they understand,
Yeah.
like a savvy investor will understand they'll have to adjust that offer. Right. Like
Yeah.
to,
I think the biggest thing with the cash is man, it's all over the place because
yeah,
you're paying your suppliers, but you have money coming in, but it isn't in yet. You have all these different factors that play into it, and it's not as accurate. It's just not as accurate, and
it's not
could leave money on the table for you if you don't have things as accurate as possible. And that was a
yeah.
big uplift for us. We did that, started that in 22, and cleaned everything up, and we were ready to go for when it
Yeah.
was.
So do that. Get, if you do want to go that route, clean it up beforehand. Another thing that I like to say is if you build your business to sell, you are building an actual business,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, a lot of times, if you're doing everything, then it's not a real business. You're self-employed. But let's have some self-awareness, right? You are self-employed if you do everything. So if you want to change from being self-employed to a business owner, that's when you're bringing on those team members to fill the gaps in your skill set that you
If you
talked
don't
about
have
earlier.
if you don't have those pieces in place, you're not appealing because
That's right.
you are the show, and in that
Yeah.
5 million range, like you're still doing a lot of the show.
Still doing a lot.
So you need
Yeah.
to, as you're growing, when you hire the production manager and the sales manager and the office manager and your GM and
That's right.
your accounting, you have to have those pieces so that when you walk away and go on vacation for 2 weeks, your business there's nothing happens. It's just running smooth. If you can't walk away for a couple weeks from your business, then you're not ready.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
If you can't walk away, you're not ready, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a business. So, I know a lot of people that listen to this show, they're really like, that's what they're focused on, man, is really like, how do we make this into something? How do we find success? How do we build something here? What do you think the greatest insight is that you can share with our audience that's helped you guys get to where you're at? What helped you personally through your career, from that initial, acquisition of Uncle Mikey's company to what it is today? What is the greatest insight around that?
I tell it to everybody all the time. I said it a little earlier in the interview. It's just hiring people that do whatever the position is better than you do. Hiring people smarter than you is what you have to do. And I've done that successfully, hired just phenomenal people. And that's what I think has made us successful. And now, there's all these growing phases. Now we're in a position where we're ready to explode because we have all those pieces in place. And our numbers this year should be real fun.
Awesome, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.